is, are Arsenal overhyped? That is the first talking point of the day. Are Arsenal overhyped? I want to go to Tom. I mean, I wish the Spurs fan was here because this would have been great for him to tell us why it's on the agenda. But Tom, are Arsenal overhyped?
No, the no one's saying they're the best team in the league, but that so far this season they've been the second best team in the league quite comfortably. They're playing really nice football, winning games. That's the most important thing. Winning games in every competition, getting the fringe players, getting numbers out of the fringe players as well. So there's no worry about that. The worries that I had for them at the start of the season, they're slowly starting to fix them and show me that they've got it dealt with, they've got it on wraps. I just wonder, I'll still have it until late on in the season when the pressure gets on them, whether it's in the Europa League or let's say they've got a mad title challenge. Do their players have that mentality? But to start the season off with, they're not overhyped. They're performing really well, and there's no one suggesting any outlandish things.
I think the fact that you started with second, of course, you're saying Man City's been better than us this season. Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
yeah,
I
Man
don't think.
City have
I
been
don't
better.
think. I think if you look at the points on the board, obviously we've been better. But hey, I feel like this whole thing about overhyped. The reason why people are going to say overhyped is because you don't expect us to finish first. Obviously, we're just happy. We're just happy that we're playing well. We played some good teams, but to say we're overhyped would assume that we're yelling and screaming that we're actually going to win the league, or we're actually going to do this, or we're actually going to do that. I think majority of fans that are saying this are mainly saying it tongue in cheek. But yeah, I don't think we're overhyped. I think we're properly rated because people are actually speaking about us in a sense that we're actually good. So it just goes to show that we're doing something and we're going in the right direction. That's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those that's super frustrating, I think, just because I feel like our collapse at the end of the season and our terrible run at the beginning of last season really overshadowed how much we had improved. Um, and so because people only think about those two bookends, the 3 games where we didn't score any goals and we were dead last, and the collapse at the end of the season, people acted like we hadn't improved. You know, I saw lots of people saying that we'd finish outside of the top 4, we didn't have a chance, we'd finish below Newcastle, and of course there's still a long way to go, but now people are acting like, where have they come from? This must have been a fluke. And a lot of the things that we're doing now this season, we were doing last season. We're just doing them better. And it's going to take a while. I think ultimately, like any Arsenal fan that's sitting there and getting really frustrated around, like, you know, people aren't rating us or people still don't believe in us, we have to keep it real too. Like, it's been a long time since we've been decent. So it's going to take time. You're going to have to win trophies. Our players are going to have to sustain this. We can't collapse at the end of the season. But it's somewhat, it's, I feel like everything is so on the different ends of the spectrum. We're either the best team that ever lived, or we're so bad. And it's probably somewhere in the middle. And so are we overhyped in terms of a title challenging team? Maybe. You know, I don't think we're actually going to be fighting with City all the way to the end. But are we overhyped as a top 4 team? No. And I think people that are still saying that, oh, well, you know, I still don't see how they're going to finish top 4. Da, da, da. I feel like that's where people are going overboard. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it, I guess.
What you saying, Kaz? I know. Look, there's banter, right? There's banter. There's having a laugh. There's challenging, but overhyped in what? Do you feel like Arsenal fans are getting ahead of themselves? Do you feel like the media are starting to talk like they're better than they really are, or is this just kind of again rivals being a little bit salty that they can't laugh at Arsenal anymore?
It's a bit of everything, really. I always want to refuse Arsenal going to be that team again, but you can't deny what they're doing. Even for myself, massive agenda against Arsenal, happily and proud, always will do forever and ever. Like Liverpool, though, you will always walk alone. Don't worry, my friends, and you'll be alone when you're 17 points behind them as well. But the actual objective for Arsenal this season is top 4, no? And you're 17 points clear of someone like Liverpool, who's meant to be someone that's challenging, and that's now they're looking like they're in a battle for Europa League. So that's one plus on there. So you're gonna hit your objective, and that's that. And you're gonna get a better caliber of player. So next season's looking even worse. Slightly. It depends what deals they can get done. As a United fan, though, obviously, I mean, no one wants to see Arsenal do well. I don't mind Arsenal as a club. It's the fans, because when it comes to online stuff, everyone knows it's Man United fans always versus Arsenal fans, and then the other end, the little section of Chelsea fans. And this section is Tottenham fans wanting to be relevant, and in this section, don't even get me started on City and Liverpool, just always circulating anyways because they just want to be the main character and they never are. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, listen. I think before we actually talk about the game this weekend that's coming up for the game this weekend that's coming up for Arsenal, I don't see that they're being overhyped. I actually think they're performing above expectations. Some people said top four, some said struggle for top four, some said miss out on top four. You're going to be hard pushed to find very many people in the social media space, pundits, journalists, ex-Arsenal players that were talking about 9 games in being top of the league. Starting, first 12 games of the season. If a gal would have sat in the stream and said, in our opening 12 games this season, we're going to win 11 of them, the whole panel, the whole audience would have laughed and said delusional. So I don't see how a team can be overhyped for exceeding expectations. I had a go at a gal for that last year, and this is where I remain consistent when he was saying that West Ham are being overhyped. They can't be overhyped because they're overachieving. You can't be overhyped whilst overachieving, in my opinion. Nobody is suggesting yet, barring Colleen, that Arsenal are going to win the league. And most Arsenal fans are not even sure if they're going to be in a title race because they legitimately see Man City as being better than them over the 38-game period. I said it on the stream earlier on today, mainly calling out the Spurs fan, who, by the way, has now said on Twitter that he never agreed to come on this show, but he DM'd me asking for the link and the agenda for tonight. I'm not going to reveal the DM because I don't do that, but he did. And he's now refusing. He now wants to do a one-on-one debate. The problem is we don't do very many one-on-one shows. So what you'll have to do, my friend, is call in tomorrow night after the Tottenham game when we do a Tottenham call in. You can phone in then and challenge my friend, because I'm not going to create a show just for me and you. I'm not going to break the channel's agenda. Sorry, the channel's schedule for that. But yeah, like I think some people are just bitter that Arsenal are doing so well and they don't like it. They're used to everybody laughing at Arsenal. They're used to everybody kind of shitting on them. And I was listening to Talk Sport yesterday, and David Moyes was on the line and just said that he's always been frustrated listening. He actually said listening to Talk Sport over recent years, continually hearing the pundits and the people on the shows never giving Arsenal any credit, when he said essentially in football, behind the scenes, everybody was quite impressed with what Arteta was doing and building. The football world could see it, but it wasn't being discussed enough sort of in the mainstream, as it were. So I think Arsenal, very talented, very young team, still a long way to go. There's no doubt about it. They've still got to keep the pressure on the Kroenke's neck. Do I think they're the finished article? Absolutely not. But I do find it really interesting how angry they make people at the moment. And to a point where today alone, I've had people threatening to beat me up, fly to England and hurt me. You saw the DM I got the other day of people wanting to do particular things to my partner and mother with their very long, I don't think it's long, by the way. Yeah, that's my take on it. I think it's rather short, to be honest. But like, that's just my thing. But like, that just shows
we need more depth. We need more details. What do you mean by
he needs more depth? I'm just saying. I don't know. Like, it is what it is. But again,
someone actually came and spoke about a little certain something that we won't mention right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just kept on messaging him back saying, like, I bet you've got a small one. Prove to me you don't. Like, I didn't really want to see, but I was just like, bruv, I'm just gonna troll back the troll. You know, that's what you got to do. Troll back.
Can I say one other thing about this though too? Like, what I find is so funny. This is my favorite thing. Is like, people are bantering Arsenal for potentially not be title contenders, and the thing is like, you're not going to shift the goalposts on us. I do this all the time. You guys know this. Terry's called me out on this. Is when you see somebody doing better than what you thought, you start trying to make them say that they need to be doing something more. We do not need to win the title to be justified in anything this season. So unless we are 10 points clear of Manchester City and we bottle it, if we make top 4, we have done what we're supposed to. So you're not about to put us under pressure to have to win the title because we're up here in October. Nah. And it's not a diss. Telling me, saying today that if Arsenal not winning the title is like some sort of banterable offense, like, that's laughable. And I get that, like, in the grand scheme, we need to be winning titles and all that type of stuff. But yeah, you're not about to shift the goalposts on us.
Not this. So go on.
I used to look forward to days like this where we wouldn't be compared to Leicester and West Ham. But you know what? It's even funnier because no matter what you do, they're going to try to find something to banter you with. So I'm fair. I'm fair play for it. I'm like,
And Gal, listen, this is the thing. Sean actually put a message in a minute ago. Big up, respect. One of our members here. He says, "Not gonna lie, this channel has just been trolling against Liverpool recently, so I haven't been tuning in a lot, but still respect it and wouldn't tell people not to watch." And he's still a member of the Terrace, and I get there are times we go through processes on the Terrace where Spurs fans love it, or right now Arsenal fans love the Terrace, and it's the point of it is it's rivals talking about each other. So for anyone who's a fan of a club who expect your rivals to always be respectful, that's nonsense. The only person who will be neutral is me or anyone hosting. The problem is with me being neutral is that sometimes my opinions you're just not going to agree with. But when you've watched me long enough, you realize that my so-called love or newfound appreciation for any particular club will vary. If Spurs start going on a run, winning games, beating the big boys, looking like they're going to win the league, you'll see me start to praise Tottenham. That isn't because I've flip-flopped. It's because they're now really impressing me. It's like this weekend, and we'll get onto it later. If Liverpool lose this weekend, I'm again changing my top 4 predictions because it's a fluid process when it comes to that. But yeah, listen, we'll move on to that a little bit later. The gentleman is now telling me that he didn't know it was today's. I clearly tweeted like he's agreed to come on tonight's show. I'll send in the agenda later, and then he DM'd me saying I want the agenda. But we will get you on the show, my friend, and you can come on and challenge. I still will give you the opportunity. Why? Because that's what the Terrace is about. My point I said earlier on today, though, is this: asking people to not watch fan people in the fan channel community continue to shrink our industry and make it harder by telling everyone to not watch each other. My message, it's why I do the fan channel review show and share the links to every channel that feature. It's about trying to help the community grow. Whether people are already bigger than me or on the way up, you try and help them grow as best you can, because the bigger this industry gets, the more we all eat, the better it is for the viewers. I have a real issue with these little silos that certain creators produce, which is, oh, these are me and my people, that's them and their people, or that little group over there. And then anyone that's trying to start up, unless you're in one of these in groups, they barely mention you. They don't know that you're there. I think that is damaging the industry, and I've been saying it for years. It's terrible. It's a terrible economic practice, but there we go. Let's look at some of these super chats that have come in here. If you're talking about Liverpool City, we're coming on to that later today, so bear with us on that. Ryan here says, Terry, and I'm sure Igal and Jess would agree with me on this, but the problem with Arsenal is that we are the most talked about team out of the top 6, whether we're doing bad or good. The goalpost always moves 100%. And I think Jess just kind of alluded to that. I think Arsenal and Man United most certainly on socials are the most talked about, and good, bad, or indifferent, that's headline news. Me and KJ were laughing last night because United got that last minute winner. Like, no, and I would say this to most of you tuning in now, rivals do not tune in to the Man United match reaction shows when United win against small teams. No one turns up. So, like, I could call you're all biased. You're all biased and you don't want to come and share in my glory.